Hello.
Can't hear you. Oh, there you are. There you are.
Here I am indeed. You dirty stop out.
Oh, God, Nicola, I don't feel better yet, I tell you. Not a drop was taken by me. Neither has there been throughout the majority of 2015. But I feel like I've been, drinking. Quite
Run over by a truck. That's the
Yes, run over by a truck. This morning, when I got out of bed, everything hurt. Muscles, bones, everything. A little bit. It's improved a little bit, but not a lot.
Oh, well, we won't expect a high energy Judith. We'll expect a quiet, contemplative Judith instead.
Yeah, you're not going to get high energy today, I don't think.
It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way. It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Anyway, you go first and tell me about your week.
No, I want to hear about your party.
Oh, well, it leads into a good story that I'm going to tell you, but I always go first in this section, so I thought you should go first for a change.
Okay, well, I'm happy to go first. One thing about your week, right? It's been weird. It's been quiet because I'm not in my usual frenzy of planning of what might work in, next year.
Oh, it's unusual for you.
Yeah, I know. It's a fabulous feeling, but it's a really weird feeling. So I've been using the time, because I do my planning quarterly now, set up goals and, all that stuff. So I've just been using the time instead to zap tolerations. Well, it's taken a few days to get over the party, I have to say. There's still various things in the wrong places. You know when you have a party and everything gets moved, and then you have to put it all back slowly. Was
that Christmas Day? Christmas
Day night, and I have said I'm leaving the country next year, so they can.
And how did it go with the drummer that you and your sisters picked up in the jazz thing?
Brilliant. He had a lovely time. He loved the teens. He loved lunch. We loved him. He told some fantastic anecdotes in a very funny Scottish accent. It all went very well. We had a lovely time. Good. So I've been zapping tolerations. I'm sitting here at a most pristine desk. The pile of papers on my printer has completely disappeared, Judith. It's been
very good.
Dumped, filed, or whatever. And I'm going to keep it like this. I'm going to keep it all clean like this and paper free, apart from my notes for Own It today. I'm feeling very pleased with myself.
Oh, good.
So what about yourself?
Well, I just should warn the listeners who'll be listening to this on the 8th of January that for Nicola and I it's still the 30th of December. So I'm sorry to talk about Christmas still, but my Christmas day was yesterday, because the 29th, because my family, which is my brother, my sister-in-law and their 3 children, were skiing in Zermatt. So they flew back into England on Boxing Day because, and this story is for you, Nicola, and I've been saving it up for several days. My brother is the chairman of Harlequins Rugby Football Club, which coincidentally has its grounds in Twickenham, but not at the National Stadium. Harlequins have their own ground, which is called the Stoop, and it has a capacity of 15,000 people. And once a year on Boxing Day or thereabouts, and they did it on Monday the 27th, which is why they had to fly back from their holiday so early, they have what's called the big game, and they move it over to proper Twickenham, which is just over the road. You could walk round, but that's got a capacity of 70,000 people. So that's like having 4 or 5 of their own games all mashed into one. Yeah. And they make it very exciting so that lots of people come, bring their children, introduce them to rugby, and they incentivise them with fireworks, and they have a live music gig. And for a very long time, they've been having the winner of the X Factor. And I've been saying to my brother for some time, the X Factor star is falling. You want to stop doing that. It's not cool anymore. Boring. And anyway, so You'll never guess who they booked this year.
Oh, I don't.
And we've talked about it. We've talked about it on the podcast before.
Oh, I don't know. Sam.
It's so cool. I can't begin to tell you. Rudimental.
Oh my God, that's so.
I know. So when I went on the website on Big Game Day to see who was on, because my brother always invites me, but it's expensive, so I don't go because I don't like rugby very much. And I saw that it was Rudimental. I texted him to say, Rudimental, how achingly cool. Whose idea was that? Bonus them or promote them immediately. And he texted back. He clearly had a beverage or two to say, I must tell you here that my brother is 58, which is younger than me, not cool when it comes to music at all. His favourite is Rod Stewart. He texted me back to say it was his idea. I said, I'm prepared to bet that the first time you'd ever heard of Rudimental was when they took to the stage on the day. And we had a lot of laughs about it. And I thought of you immediately because we discussed them on the podcast before. It's just such a good story. I'm so excited about it. And when I was over there yesterday, we were playing these games where we were all being DJs on Spotify. And at one point, Rudimental came on, and I went, listen, David, listen, Rudimental. So we've been taking the mickey out of the Rod Stewart fan by making him listen to.
So wasn't he a bit intrigued about how you knew about Rudimental?
But no, he knows that I'm so much more like his children than I am like him, because I think that it goes with the territory a bit that when you're parents, you're kind of very grown up. And because I'm not a parent, I kind of relate more to the kids. I'm into geekery. And I think he was quite surprised. I've never used Spotify in my life. So he handed me, after he'd been the DJ for a bit and we'd listened to a lot of Rod Stewart, he handed me his iPhone, which was connected to his Apple system that goes throughout the house. And I'd never used Spotify before because I don't listen to music at home. And I worked out instantly how to do it. And he was amazed because I'm quite a geek. And then, I started playing all this sort of contemporary stuff, which he doesn't really like at all. Because can we have a good one again, Jude? So you have to go back to the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Because he and his wife kind of got stuck in David Bowie. They like Bruce Springsteen. They like, do you know what I mean? They like stuff like that. And what amazed me was I was there until 2:45 in the morning, and David and Anne had gone to bed, and two of their children had gone to bed, and I was left with my niece and a couple of my nephew's friends, and we were all playing tunes across all those decades, even though they hadn't been born, and they were loving them because, of course, their parents have instilled in them a love of the music, so they grew up with things that I knew when we were playing, Guess That Tune, and they were amazed that I knew so many tunes, but I was amazed by how many old tunes they knew as well. Anyway, really fun game. So that's why I didn't get home until 4 o'clock in the morning, and we normally record. I know. Well, I should just tell the listeners we normally record this at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It'd be interesting to see if it has a different flavour, Nicola, recorded in the afternoon.
Well, you've gained energy just by talking about Rudimental in your party. So
well, that's such a great story, isn't it? I mean, my brother tried to convince me in the text that he'd booked Rudimental. I mean, dream on. He doesn't even know who they are. Anyway, it's very funny.
And just for the benefit of our listeners, tunes are now spelt CHOONS.
Oh, dear.
That's exactly the same system we had at our party, because Phoebe bought her. She's got this really lovely. I'm thinking of stealing it. A really lovely sort of 5 speaker set, but it's all tiny. But it's got the most wonderful sound, so you don't have to have the music up so loud to be able to hear the music. And various people came along and plugged their phone into it and were just playing their playlists. So they make playlists.
Well, exactly.
It's
exactly, and that's what we were doing. It's so cool and such fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it really was. And I know what you mean, because Nelson is into all sorts of things like Fleetwood Mac, Steeleye Span, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones. He follows a trail. So if he hears something he likes, he'll go and find out what else they've done and who the musicians were, and he just follows a trail and discovers new music, which is really splendid, I think.
I mean, I don't know what your experience is of family, but mine's a bit hit and miss. When it's good, it's very, very good, and when it's bad, it's horrible. And last Christmas Day wasn't really very much fun. So surprised and delighted that yesterday's 15-hour marathon was so good. I didn't want to go home until at 2:45 in the morning, I went, oh, holy shit, it's the podcast at 10 o'clock in the morning. I better go home. I better go home now. And I sort of left immediately, got home in probably an illegal time. And then I thought, I don't think I'm going to be up for 10 o'clock in the morning.
It's all right. It's good. You get 2 passes a year, as I do.
Yes, well, quite. I thought to myself, well, I'm not known as the flake in this team, but now I am. Well, strike against me. I've been a flake because I've been out partying.
I know. That's the only and best excuse, I think.
Yes.
Marvellous. Oh, what fun. And so we've still got New Year's Eve to look forward to.
I know. So sorry, listeners, we're a bit lagging behind. By the time we've done New Year's Eve, which will be next week, then we'll be so normal in January you won't be able to tell anymore.
Absolutely. So I've muddled up what I've done during the week and what's fueled my fire, because I've told you what fueled my fire. What's fueled my fire is clearing my house up and tending to my environment. But the other thing that's fueled my fire is a new development of people hiring me to troubleshoot their Facebook ads account. They don't want me to become their Facebook ads person, and they don't want to learn how to do it themselves from scratch. They want me to just look at their accounts and tell me what's wrong with it. And I did one for Nicola yesterday, and she put a big shout out in High Performing Women, which has led to another inquiry today. So I spent 2 hours today with a lovely lady who really, it was like cramming a day and a half worth of boot camp into 2 hours. But I really enjoyed it. So I think I've accidentally got a new string to my bow of my Facebook ads bow.
And I quite like that one, actually, because, we've both got a low boredom threshold. There's no time for you to get bored in that, is it? It's just troubleshooting.
Absolutely. Hold on, Judith. Someone's just broken in the front door. Is that you, Phoebe Deeves? No, it doesn't sound like Phoebe Deeves. It sounds like a boy masquerading as Nelson, it'll be then. Hello, darling. We're on the podcast recording, albeit a bit late because Judith was out partying to Rudimental last night. Just thinking, they must have really got the atmosphere going though for those 70,000 people, was it?
70,000. Well, I think it's about 60. There's a capacity of 70,000. I think there were only about 60,000 there yesterday because they've only just had the Rugby World Cup, which was lots of it was at Twickenham, so there was a little bit of hangover from that. But
they're very high energy performers, so it would really got them going.
Well, there was a little tragedy that I haven't told you about, which is they went on before it started and they were due to come out again at half time, but at half time there was a power cut, so they couldn't come out, which was a terrible shame, and will unfortunately resulted in my brother and his team immediately having to look at their contract with the RFU and seeing if they were entitled to a refund for that, and indeed they are.
Marvellous. So they're a good day out and didn't have to pay for it. Even better.
They had to pay for Rudimental, but unfortunately the people in the audience only got half of what they were due from Rudimental. But still, the whole point about this is how achingly cool that is, and what funnily enough, an aspirational, instead of some flash in the pan X Factor winner who's going to last 10 seconds. It's a much better brand match, in fact, aspirational for Harlequins, not to be so fuddy-duddy, but to be cooler.
Yeah, absolutely, especially if they want young people to come into the game.
Right, yes.
So, fueling your fire then, presumably resting all day has fueled your fire a little bit.
Well, not much fueling today. I sort of realised, the terrible failure in domestic household management, where I can't get avocado to deliver until Monday, and today's only Wednesday, so I had to go out and snaffle some essential supplies. But what's fueled my fire really is this time in between to think. I wrote down time to think, and then I realised actually I hadn't been doing thinking like now is the official time to have a think. It was more feeling, where due to the sort of peace and quiet and the space, intelligence and ideas and guidance and thoughts just drop in. I haven't manufactured them. I haven't screwed up my forehead and go, I must have a thought. I've just sort of had the space for them to drop in, if you know what I mean. And after last week where I said, well, I wasn't going to do any planning, I found that plans emerged.
Arrived, fully formed in your brain.
You're not necessarily fully formed, but kind of, that's an idea, and that's an idea, that kind of thing, really. And I quite enjoyed that.
Very nice. Yes, I am. Yeah, I always love this time actually because it's different enough. Even when you go out on the streets, there's not so many people on the streets because lots of people take a week off and the shops aren't crammed and all that stuff. So, but Keller, shopping for yourself. What's going on with that?
Oh, well, I had to leave the house to go shopping. I mean, frightful. Ghastly. Horrid.
Well, I was inveigled to go to the David Lloyd yesterday with Phoebes, and she wore me out thoroughly, and then insisted on dropping into Waitrose on the way home because we wanted to go. We wanted udon noodle miso soup with prawns and squid, and then she wanted to make a katsu chicken curry or something from scratch, and they had all sorts of lovely street food bags. Have you seen them? You should look them up.
No, not street food bags, but I know about street food.
They're sort of all the ingredients you need to create a certain kind of street food. You just supply the fish or the chicken or whatever.
Oh, right.
They look really good fun. So there was Japanese ones, there was all sorts of different ones, but they look really, upmarket and had all good stuff in them. So we had a lovely time cooking that, and then and watching Made in Chelsea Christmas special. I love this.
Oh dear.
Oh, they're very posh.
Dear.
It's not made in Essex, it's made in Chelsea, dear. They went to Pimlico.
No,
lovely.
Even so. To be honest with you, I don't see the difference between made in Essex or made in Chelsea. It's the same.
Right. They just bang on all the time about the dramas they're having between themselves and who's sleeping with who. I mean, it really is utterly pointless.
Well, it is pointless, really. I mean, if you scroll back to when our lives were closer to that than they are now, it'd be just like having a Steadicam on in your living room or bedroom all the time and broadcasting it to the nation. It's just bizarre.
I know, it is bizarre, yeah. Some of them have got businesses. God knows where they fit the time in to run a business. I have no idea. Because they're far too busy the rest of the time. Do we have a client challenge of the week this week, or?
Well, it was broadly this. You shocked me a bit because I was going to say, obviously it's too late for 2015, but it might be useful to give some clients for ideas for next year. What to do with the time in between and knowing when to work and not to work. Speaking as a reformed workaholic, but actually then you surprised me by going against type and saying you hadn't done any planning in this week like you normally do, but you've done more more self-care type activities.
Yeah.
Which surprised me there a bit.
I know, because I still follow. Do you remember I got very, very excited by the book Traction in the year? And that's something we could talk about, isn't it? We could talk about which books have really profoundly affected us. But I got very profoundly affected by Traction, and then the follow-up one, which is called Get a Grip, and I've been following that now for a year and a bit. And it's basically every 90 days you fill in 2 sheets of paper, which you can download from the website actually. It helps you think about the outcomes you want for the 90 days. In fact, you think about the outcomes you want for 3 years, 10 years, 3 years, 1 year, blah, blah, 90 days. And then you look at which obstacles are in your way of achieving those boulders or whatever they're called. And you get on with removing them, and it's just I just love it as a really simple. I like really simple things because my little brain gets overloaded quite easily. I love that, so I've been running that, and that's why I didn't feel the need to do it all, for the whole year, because I know what I'm doing for the next 90 days, 1 year, 3 years, 10 years.
I think actually you're getting more relaxed with the usage of time off. Yes. Well, that's what the David Lloyd thing's about, to get me away from the computer and get me out of the house. And it's, I said to Phoebe, I can't be bothered today, can you? She said, what are you talking about? She said, it'll be lovely. And it was lovely. We sat in the steam room, we sat in the hot tub, we worked it out in the gym, we did a swim, and it really was very enjoyable. Even driving there and back, listening to the radio was enjoyable. So, yeah, I'm working quite hard on leisure time and enjoying it. Well, I've come up with a couple of ideas in that vein. Do you want to hear them?
Oh, love to.
Actually, oh yes, I know. Have you heard of Susanna Conway?
No.
I've got her papers on my desk. It's not the first year I've done this. SusannaConway.com. She has actually, just let me open up I'm working through a sort of 4 or a 5 day free opt-in thing, which I've done before, which is about excavating your word of the year, which actually I kind of know what it is already, even though I haven't done the 4 days. And there's a thing that she does, which listeners might like to hear about. Did I spell her name? Susanna Con H. So I beg your pardon. Susanna with an H on the end. and two N's in the middle, conway.com. But she has this thing which people might find quite useful if they don't know about it, called Unraveling the Year Ahead Workbook. It is free. All you have to do is opt into her list to get it. I've done that in years gone by. I'm not doing that one. I'm just doing the one about the word. Now, and the other idea I came up with and discussed it with a couple of the people who were at the party yesterday is it would be nice, and it actually came from something we talked about last week where I was telling you about the radio program called I've Never Seen Star Wars, where they get people to go off and do things they've never done before. I was thinking it would be quite fun to make a list, not a bucket list, because they're quite big things like climb Kilimanjaro and go hot air ballooning and things. I was thinking of having a list which was just a list of small things. Obviously, you could make them as big as you like, and you can make as many as you like, or you can make as few as you like, any size. I was thinking 52 might be a good number, or maybe 12, or just writing a list until you run out of ideas, of quite small ideas that would make your year different. Now, let me tell you what I mean. When I suggested it to these chaps from the golf club yesterday, one of them said, "Oh, you mean like reading a book by an author you've never read before?" That was an example. And he came up with an author of an Italian author who's translated into English, who writes the Montalbano books. I don't know if you know him. He's an Italian detective in Sicily, and they've been translated and adapted for BBC 4 on Saturday nights, and there are lots of fans. And I went on Amazon and had a look this morning. I thought, yes, that's exactly it. Now, just little things that you don't normally do, or you've never done, or you haven't done much of, or you've always meant to explore, not big things, because we'd have to go into training to run the London Marathon, for instance. Not that either of you are, that's a sort of big project. Can you think of any little things that would be nice to add to a list?
Yeah, I can. I mean, watch a film a week on my own. I never.
You mean go to the pictures? Do you mean go to the pictures?
Well, even at home, I never watch films on telly. I just don't watch films on my own, because somehow in my head I've given meaning to the fact that you should watch films with other people. And another one would be go to the cinema on my own, because I never do that. Something else popped into my head then. What was it? Oh, I came up with, as you were talking, I had about 3 or 4 things, so I'm sure I could come up with things.
Well, I think we should. Let's you and I do it. Think of things. Deliberately go out of our way to think of funny little things.
12 things.
12.
It's
all
not
right.
too much pressure then, is it? And we could read it out on the podcast.
You could do one a month. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not too much pressure. A bit like your book club. Not too much to read.
No, that's right. In fact, I think I'm going to get them to read the Montalbano book for my choice for January. It's only 224 pages, so that's rather good. And I'll be able to report back whether he's any good. I know he's much beloved, and some of my friends have read his books. And also the good thing about him is he's up to number 19 or something. So if we like him, there's plenty in the series. But of course, that's not the point. We're not trying to keep repeating things we already know we love. We're trying to experiment. We're trying to have new experiences.
Oh, the other one that popped into my head was start a box set, because I've never watched a box set.
Oh, my word, I can recommend so many good ones, Nicola.
I know.
Oh, my word.
I've ordered a Chromecast dongle for my telly in the kitchen, which is £25 at the moment if you get it from the Chromecast website, because it's taken me this long to puzzle out how it all works. Because I was trying to work out if I needed an Apple box or whatever, because there's a telly in the kitchen, but there's no aerial. The internet connection's not brilliant, so it's difficult to watch stuff live on the laptop. So I was trying to work out how to be able to watch TV in the kitchen, and I've puzzled it out now. And if it goes well, I'll get probably an Apple TV box for the TV in the living room.
Could I make a suggestion?
Go on then.
You don't want to pay for any of this. You want to get it free, and all you need is an HDMI cable to lash your computer. I don't do it because I've only got a laptop and I watch everything on the laptop or the iPad, and I'm delighted with that. But people who've got tellies and are used to it, you connect can you stream on your television?
Stream? Not sure. It's quite a new one, newish. It's probably got a connect.
Has it got is your television connected to the internet?
Yes, through the Skybox.
All right, so you can live stream. I don't download anything because you don't want that, and I don't want a box set because that's clutter. So you can live stream everything. Everything I watch on BBC iPlayer is live, and all the box sets I stream for free.
Okay, that sounds very good, and I will investigate it. So
Well, I will send you a link, and if anybody listening wants to know, they can email me because it's ever so slightly illegal. But you don't have to pay for either. You don't have to pay for anything. So you don't have to subscribe to Netflix or Apple TV or Chromecast or anything. You can stream everything you want to watch for free, including movies.
well, I'm astonished. In your illegal streaming and drum and bass. What's going?
I've been streaming television programs for a very long time. Something I would say, what's 7 from 16? 9 years.
I've got a thing called VIP TV. Is that what we're talking about?
I don't know what that is, but is that something that you stream?
Don't know. We're remarkably unsure about the technology in the television department.
Well, I'm not. You see, I'm right up to the minute. And one of the groups that I belong to, you know, Irene commented that she was in St Martin on her listening to our Christmas thing. I'm in various Facebook groups that are about, you know, fans of St Martin and people who live in St Martin. And somebody appealed the other day for, you know, has anybody got, you know, seasons 2 to 7 of a box set? I said, you don't need it, live stream it, what's the matter with you? And they didn't seem to understand. Everybody's obsessed with, you know, I've got to have a box set and DVDs. Well, I haven't got a DVD player, and computers don't take DVDs anymore.
No.
So we're streaming. Streaming is the way everything is going, and you don't want to download it because that just puts it on your memory.
I'll tell you what's held me back from that sort of thing is that whenever you download anything, you are putting yourself at risk of some sort of horrible virus.
That's what I'm saying. You don't download.
Yeah.
Don't download.
Yeah, you have to
not
download, don't you?
No, you don't. No, you
Access it on
don't.
the browser.
You just stream off a website. You do need an ad blocker because that's how they make their money.
Okay. I shall send me a link that explains it all.
And somebody like you might want a thing called an HDMI cable, which lashes up your computer to your telly. If you can stream on your telly, you're laughing.
Well, I think that's what this Chromecast plugin does because it plugs into the.
It does. That's exactly it. That's what it does. But it costs money, and I'm telling you can do it for free. Can you watch BBC iPlayer? This is my question to you for the week. Your homework for the week. Can you watch BBC iPlayer on your television? Because if you can, you're streaming.
Right. Okay. Hold on, Judith, because people are arriving now.
Okay.
Hold on. Oh, there is the Chromecast thing arriving. Well, right. Can you stream what? iPlayer on your telly? No, not without the plugin thing.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go. So, and how big is your? You've got a Mac, haven't you?
Yes, I've got a MacBook Pro. Yeah.
And so is it a MacBook Pro? Okay. So you need a cable that connects that to your telly.
Okay, an HDMI cable.
Yes.
Yes, I could find one of those in the cupboard, I expect. I've got so much stuff in there.
Exactly. That's your tech task for the week. Lash up your MacBook Pro to your telly and stream something off BBC iPlayer to prove you can do it. And then I'll give you the links to tell you where you can go to watch things and recommend some of the best television of the last decade to you.
Oh, there you go. Whew, that's exciting, isn't it? So, okay, 12 things we're going to do. We're going to come up with that by next week then, yeah?
Yes, I'm going to give it a go. I mean, obviously, we only really need to come up with one, don't we? We need to come up with January's.
Well, I think we got just sorted January's, didn't we?
Yes, we have just sorted January's. I'm going to read Inspector Montalbano, and you're going to start live streaming things to your television.
I'm going to lash my laptop to my TV and see what happens.
And actually, I tell you what would be interesting to see if, as the year goes on, if we get more intrepid.
Yeah.
So I'm reading and you're watching telly, but it'd be good to see if by April you've taken up, you know, horse riding.
I've
gone to a live rudimental gig. How about that?
Yeah, that'd be very funny, wouldn't it?
Yes,
you sound a bit. I've got another idea which I'm just going to write down because my memory is. Did you see they've invented a cure for Alzheimer's in Australia?
So I don't really believe in Alzheimer's, and Juicy can reverse that as well.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't believe in all
The
of
other
these
thing
things.
I wanted to talk about in this section was changes to the podcast. We haven't discussed it amongst ourselves. We've got various
No.
ideas. You don't want to discuss it on this?
I don't mind discussing it on this. I just thought it might be. I don't want to make massive changes, but you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you know, just something to freshen it up a bit, maybe. Tell me your ideas.
Well, we could get feedback from the listeners, couldn't we, on whether they think we should change it at all. The ideas so far are to go twice weekly and separate, perhaps do an interview show and our normal show, or to separate out the client challenge of the week to a separate thing, a separate episode, and go deeper, or whether we should. Yeah, that's sort of pretty much it, wasn't it?
I think client challenge of the week is going to become increasingly challenging, because after 60 client challenges, I'm running out of them. And I think 60 challenges is enough for any business person in their entire career. Quite frankly, they probably rotate. And we can't seem to solicit them from the listener or the general public. So I don't know. I don't know how we're going to do that ongoing.
You don't think that it's just, because when you look at big blogs, they just rotate the same challenges, but they talk about them in a different way. They update them with different tools. If
your back's against the wall, I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't want us to become repetitive, I think.
Okay, well, we need feedback from you, our beloved listeners, on this one. And
we do.
Would you like us to perhaps once a month interview someone interesting? And we both know lots of interesting people, that's for sure. So
I always I know you favour the expert for interviews. I always favour the clients for interviews, actually. So people that aren't gurus and success stories, actually, but ordinary people.
Well, I'd be up for that, definitely. I definitely don't want to go back to the road of organising gurus and authors and things, because that was very hard work. Okay. That's why I'm not the other one.
So if anybody listening wants to come on and tell us about their business and their life, that would be fun.
Yes, and how their business fits into their life and all that stuff. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, and how they're owning it. We maybe do one of those a month or something.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be an extra as opposed to instead of.
Yes.
But then we could have perhaps a highlight of it featured in one of. And anyway, we'll see how we go. So anyone listening who's thinking, oh, I'd really wish they'd do that, then do let us know, and you can do that by coming to ownitthepodcast.com and either leaving a message through the little SpeakPipe microphone on the right hand side, or just by commenting in the comments on episode 61. This is. So, it'll be the most recent one if you come along very quickly, or it'll, might have dropped down one or two. So just comment on episode 61 on what changes, if any, you'd like to see to the podcast. More sound effects, that's what I'd like, because I really enjoyed them.
Yes, you started off well with the sound effects, and then I don't know whether you got bored with them or people complained, didn't they? After the last two episodes, they've been rather fun for the Christmas and the New Year one, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, but I think I did keep it to a minimum, whereas I think what people didn't like was me running sound effects like the street sounds and the cafe sounds and the restaurant sounds in the background. But this, we'll see what I come up. Perhaps I'll do one surprise sound effect a week and see how that goes. Because I love finding funny ones. That's very good.
Well, it needs to be fun for you, definitely, as you're the person that does that bit.
Yeah, I do like it, though, so I don't mind listening to us banging on again for a whole hour, even after we've just banged on for a whole hour about the same stuff. What's your word of the week, then?
Well, after last night's party, it's fun. I've realised I had a really nice phone call from somebody just before Christmas, and she's a person who makes me laugh a lot, and we laughed and laughed and laughed. Hadn't spoken for, I don't know, at least a year, maybe longer. And she made me laugh so much. I thought, oh, it was so good to have a laugh with you. And then yesterday, I was having so much fun I didn't want to come home. And I think particularly in the winter, when it gets darker and shorter and you're a bit knackered because we've been working for 12 months non-stop, fun goes out the window a bit. There's this sort of desperation to get towards Christmas, so that you can relax and knock off work for a bit. And I just thought I've had a lot of fun in the last week, and it's been refreshing and fabulous.
I recommend young people for fun. They just got that's all they think about is having fun. I think that's why
good for them.
it's so good being around them.
Yeah.
I had a lovely time on Hummy Christmas night, and yesterday, hanging out with Phoebes, and then Nelson's mates came over. It's just all good fun, lovely. Mine's anticipation, because I'm looking forward to this next year with anticipation, because this whole thing of these people popping up wanting me to triage their Facebook ads campaigns, that was completely unexpected and completely welcome and well paid and fun and not boring, like you say. So I'm looking forward to more delicious surprises like that this year.
I think what's really nice about that is no matter how much planning one did, you couldn't have planned for that. It came out of the blue. And I think that things that come out of the blue like that are, fun. There you go. And
also, I had space for them because, I was able to just slot a 2-hour thing in today and a 1-hour thing in yesterday. And I had space for them because my diary wasn't jammed up to the hilt. So I'm definitely I'm going to empty my diary even more, I think.
I tell you what it's reminding me of is, you and I both get a lot of approaches from people that say, can you do this? And sometimes your heart sinks, doesn't it? And you go, oh, no, and you're looking for a way to say no. But when somebody phoned up yesterday and said, can you troubleshoot my Facebook ads? Yes, lovely, thanks very much, because right up your road.
Rolling my sleeves up in gleeful anticipation.
Yes, exactly.
Hence the word of the week.
And I think it's the antidote to planning, Nicola. You couldn't have planned for that because that wasn't your idea, that was their idea.
And neatly segued, Judith, into project updates. Because,
okay, good.
You want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Yes. No, you go first.
Well, I've planned tonight. I'm having a webinar for, as of the last count, 215 people. So it turns out my GoToWebinar account is 1,000 limit after all. So that's another thing I need to think about, is whether I need to really try and fill up 1,000 people webinar. That'd be a laugh, wouldn't it? But I have, because I've been thinking about it over the last 3 weeks, I've been planning this in a very casual fashion, but more than I've ever planned anything for a long time. And I've even created a spreadsheet to, say if X number of people do this and X number of people do that, and X, as you know, how many sales am I likely to make? But you do not know the answer to that question until you host the webinar. And what puts me off doing more webinars is, I hate saying the same thing over and over again. So doing the same webinar over and over again is anathema to me. That's a good word, isn't it? But the other thing is that I don't want to be disappointed. So I don't want to get, planning for me means the possibility of being disappointed when your plans go awry. Another good word. So I've been very carefully keeping detached from the outcome on this one while planning it. Right, here's a distinction. Planning and goal setting is different from giving something the best chance of success. So I've been planning this to give it the best chance of success while trying to remain unattached to the outcome, so I don't get disappointed.
Nice, very clean.
Well, I'm yes, I'm feeling pretty clean this week, I must say. So yeah, I'll let you know what happens next week. To be honest, I only need to one person to take me up on the offer I'll be making at the end of the webinar, and it will be a success. So out of the 215, I'm thinking 10% would be fabulous. Anything between 1 and 10% would just be lovely, awesome, perfect.
And can they listen again, Nicola, or do they have to be there live to take advantage of the offer?
No, I hate that. So I'm definitely sending a recording out, but it won't be available forever. It will just be available for a week. But because that's how you encourage people to listen as quickly as possible. So yeah, that's my project update. I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay, very exciting.
What about yourself?
Well, one of my thoughts, feelings, ideas that dropped in was the reason that I like our podcast so much is because we have a conversation, and things change in your life and in my life, and hopefully in the lives of the listeners, after we've had a conversation.
Yeah.
And I've always said that I can't do, and I don't want to do this thing that other coaches do where they productize themselves, because I want to talk to my clients because they're all individual. and they're all unique, and I need to understand their circumstances before I can help and advise them. And so I realised that conversation, having what Rich Litvin calls a powerful conversation, a transformational opportunity for change, and conversations that leave people feeling better. I don't know about you, but at the end of the podcast, I always feel quite upbeat because we've had a nice chat about something.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I need and I want to make this much more central to my work. Now, like the whole world is, we always say the world is divided up into kinesthetic and what are the other two? People who feel
Audio,
things giving-
visual, and kinesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the whole world doesn't feel better for a chat. So this limits my audience nicely into people who want to talk about it. And so I'm going to, I've done a bit of it already in my newsletter and on a blog post and on my website, but I'm going to, this gives me the opportunity to do something that I said last year I wanted to do, which is I want to move more into not just business and money, but life guidance. So, you know, if you want to talk to me about anything, and many of my clients do, who've hired me as their business mentor, we end up talking about their partners or their babies or their mother dying or whatever it is. I want to become increasingly known as a person with whom you can have a conversation about anything that will make you feel better, because we know that when you feel better, you're in a more resourced place to go and, you know, do whatever it is you want to do, or you've got clear about what you're thinking about. I want to make conversation with clients and strangers and one-off consultations much more central to my work.
In a way, it's going back to the concept of pure coaching, isn't it?
It is, which is what I said a year ago. I want to do more of that.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah. I mean, you know, just a funny little example is every time, you know, something's not working in my house, I think, what would Judith do? How would Judith?
Oh, bless you.
So, you know, it's, and my God, it's made my life so much more pleasant. Just the last 3 months alone, where I've been working on getting stuff to, you know, proper food in the fridge, so I don't have to trudge around the old co-op every night, and little things like that, and eating better because there's good food in the fridge, and instead of eating, you know, some sort of takeaway ready meal, you know, it's just little things like that just make such a difference, and that is pure coaching, isn't it?
Yes, it is pure. It is pure coaching. Yes, I also think it's the value, not just of the conversation, but it's the value of me being there to give someone a proper listening to, because most people don't have a person that they can talk to who's got no agenda. So your friend, if you bitch to your girlfriend about your boyfriend dumping you, she's going to make you feel better. She's going to say, "Oh, you poor thing, he was such a worthless so-and-so, da-da-da." And actually, I might say to you, "Well, that sounds like rather a good thing to me." It might not be what you want to hear, but I can often feel through the conversation I have with people, you know, what's the most helpful thing to ask or say, and raise the vibration. I think that's the thing. And I firmly believe, because I'm one of these people, that people like you and I, creators and entrepreneurs, they get clear with their mouths open. I sometimes hear myself say something to you in the call, or when I listen to it again later, or vice versa, something you said, and it gives me an idea, and that leads somewhere, or I laugh at what we're talking about. And I know it's about ending the call where both the caller and I feel better. I feel better because I know I've made a difference to that one. And they feel better because they've either had somebody neutral to vent to, or somebody to stick up for them, or somebody to help them realise it's okay for them to pursue their desires. It's not selfish, you know, whatever it is. Lots of personal development stuff that I've been studying for more than 20 years, which helps the individual feel that they can have whatever they want in their life. And life coaching is a horrible cheesy, horrible, cheesy, just dreadful thing. But life guidance, perhaps, or powerful conversations, or change through conversation, or transformational conversation. I haven't worked out the branding yet, but I would love to do more of that.
I think you're in a fantastic place to do it, because you're going to do it within the wrapper of small, you know, being a business owner, and you're going to attract people who are Powerful Conversations would be an awesome brand, but we'd have to find out because it sounds like someone might have done it before.
I don't think I can borrow it from Rich Litvin. He's a coach that wrote a book called The Prosperous Coach, and he charges tens of thousands of pounds for a year to work with him, and he uses Powerful Conversations as the induction call. So you give a client an experience of how powerful it can be to be in deep conversation with somebody else, and then they buy the year of working with you, which is teeny bit cynical for me. But Powerful Conversations or change through conversation. I think talk can change things, which is, and I like talk, and you like talk, which is why we like this podcast.
Yeah, it's great, and yeah, you've so much experience of listening in group, listening to your groups, listening to people on your groups, years and years of coaching. It's beyond question that it would make a huge difference.
And do you know what, Nicola? And I'm getting a little goosebump as I say this. I've never lost interest in it, and I never find myself repeating things to clients. I never think, oh God, this is so boring, me saying the same thing again. I'm not, because each conversation is unique. And the conversations I have with you in these podcasts, they're not the same as anything I ever have with another living human being. And none of my clients bore me, and they never say the same things. And I can't roll out, Judith's stock answer number 27. It's different with every human being.
Yeah, and that's why you resist the productizing thing, and you're right to, because when I got a bit fed up with the money gym, and I brought you in, it was because I'd got fed up with working through those 10 modules one after the other. I did used to vary it. So if someone needed the cash flow module or the debt module, I used to perhaps go to that second after the introduction or whatever. But yeah, it did get to the point where I was thinking, I don't know how many more years I can do. I can trudge through the same 10 modules. And that's because I'd productized it. But
I do understand why the big coaches that we know do that, because exchanging time for money isn't a respectable business model or one that makes sense. But what it comes down to often in a client with an email or a phone call or a Facebook interaction or even on a group call, I'll say, can we talk about this? Because I need to hear them say in their own words and their own breathing and their own silences and their own thoughts and the language they use, what's the problem here? And then either coach them, ask powerful questions, or just hear them, because that's very useful and healing. And not many people do. In my family, nobody listens to each other. We all just shout. There's no healing by listening, almost no conversation. It's just who can shout loudest. Maybe this is why I want to do it, because I don't feel heard.
Yeah. And my sister Sarah, that's one of her biggest challenges. She gets very, very cross if she thinks you're not listening to her.
Yeah.
So,
well, there you go.
Yeah, instead of trying to fix.
I don't want to fix people, but I think if they end the conversation, and so many of us do, by feeling better, they're better resourced in every way to go on and achieve better results, if it's success or onwards and upwards, or even just feeling better about yourself, that you don't want what everybody else wants, which is success and more. If I can just help them feel it's okay to want what they want, they don't have to want what everybody else wants.
Yeah, I think coming up with a name for this would be brilliant. Talk for change. I don't know.
Well, I'd like you to help me, off call, I'd like you to help me with that, because that would be fun.
Yeah, we do like a nice naming idea, don't we?
We do.
Cool. Okay, so we're on to who or what's impressed.
Well, I can do this one very succinctly because I banged on a bit in the last one. All of those who volunteered their time at Christmas to things like Crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Is amazing, yes.
Well, mine's a book. It's called Abyss Beyond Dreams, when I'm yet to find out what relevance that title's got to the story, by Peter F. Hamilton. I have a wish list at Christmas. We always do on Amazon, and people go and choose random things off it. And this year, Phoebe has bought me a fabulous science fiction book, which I think is going to be part of a series. We love those series. And it's a rattling good read, it really is. But Abyss Beyond Dreams, if you like science fiction, galactic, intergalactic, yet human science fiction, then Peter F. Hamilton is the chap for you. Thoroughly enjoyed.
Now, You see, I don't like sci-fi, but that's one for my list this year, which is that in one of the months I will have to dabble with it, because I don't like sci-fi, but I've got absolutely no good reason for that. I haven't watched any or read any, and I just think I won't like it.
I can recommend some awesome sci-fi that is galactic spanning yet human-sized.
Okay.
That's.
Don't do it now. Don't do it now, caller.
I wasn't going to. I was going to do my usual beg for reviews, which is,
Okay.
guys, we're so close to getting into that top 40 of what's hot on management and marketing. Only your reviews will make a difference on iTunes. So make a podcasting girl's dream come true.
Oh, bless.
And go off,
because that is one of your little goals, isn't it? You want to. What is it? What is your goal about the podcast?
I wanted to get in the top 40 of what's hot on management and marketing, because when you go into management and marketing, and the top 40 are the ones that show above the fold, and it would jump our listenership dramatically if we could get in the top 40. So all it takes is 5 minutes to go along. There's even a little video on each of our blog posts, a link to a video to show you how to do it. Even if you're not on iTunes, I think you have to have an Apple account, don't you? But it would be fabulous if you would take a time to go and do that. We don't care what you say about us, as long as you give us 5 stars. Or 4. I'll settle for 4. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Judith. I really appreciate this on the night when you've been out partying to the wee small hours. And
Okay.
we'll see you next week for when normality will resume. Bye.
Okay. See you soon. Yeah. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.